Woohoo! I think we're there. That's awesome. Let's go. Let's see if the audio works. I think it seems to be working, so that's pretty good. Let me know if it's too loud or if it's not. How's everyone doing today? Who do we have on today? Who is enjoying their beautiful Easter weekend with me? The best way to spend your Sunday. Yeah. Let me know who's in there. I'm going to go through a few things first before we get into the portfolio, because every month, actually, I do a portfolio update to just see how things have been going in the last couple of weeks, basically, with regards to like the performance of my stock portfolio and my crypto portfolio, of course. We'll see that crypto is becoming more and more important to me, apparently, according to my portfolio breakdown. So we'll take a look at that in a few minutes, or yeah, whatever, like 5-10 minutes or whatever. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit more about my business, how much I'm bringing in right now with regards to the money I'm bringing in from YouTube and also from other sources, like my translation business, and what my long-term goals are, or well, also medium-term goals, but like goals for in a few years to multiple years ahead. We're going to talk a little bit about that. So this is going to be our monthly update. But before we get into that monthly update, then I would like to go through a few of my things that I posted on my community tab. If you don't know, every YouTube channel has this community. Well, not everyone, actually. I believe all the channels with more than 1,000 subscribers have this community tab. And here you can post like questions and polls and images and videos and stuff like that. So sometimes I post a nice little poll to see what people think about a certain topic. For example, 2 days ago, I was asking about the SPAC market, if the SPAC market is dead according to you guys, and well, 600 people voted, so that's actually pretty cool to see. Most people think that we are going to see a K-shaped recovery, that the good SPACs are going to go up. Always need to look in the direction where I'm going, because let's see, this is actually, no, this is the right one. Yeah, okay. I think this should be the one. So so the good SPACs are going up and the bad SPACs are going down. That should be probably the way I have to point, right? Yeah. So that's probably the K-shaped recovery. I am in that camp myself as well. I believe that we are going to see a divergence between the good SPACs and the bad SPACs. The good SPACs basically being the SPACs that are a little bit safer, that already have that proven track record, that already have some revenue that they are bringing in, and the bad SPACs, well, not necessarily bad SPACs actually, but more like the SPACs that have not proven themselves just yet, that they just have like an idea, they haven't really produced anything yet, they expect to have revenue in a few years' time. So those SPACs might not do so well in the next coming like months, years, maybe even until they actually produce something and until they actually have a product they can sell. Then many people think that the SPAC market is not dead, and yeah, just 23% thinks that the SPACs are actually dead. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in the next coming, I would say, even weeks or maybe a few months. I think the action is going to be, yeah, pretty important for the general market. What's up? Oh, it's a beautiful name. Hans Patat. Love it. CCIV. Awesome. CCIV is definitely good. So after the whole, I'm going to go into the questions after the portfolio breakdown. Yeah, just because I want to go through that portfolio breakdown first, and then I'll go into the questions like talking about GIK, for example, post-merger. So we had another poll that I posted yesterday, and I was asking, because I got this comment from someone in the Discord, and I actually liked it. I'm going to pull up the Discord. By the way, if you want to join our Discord, it's for free. You can just go to nesami.com/Discord. And if you go there, you can see this name and email box. You just leave your name, leave your email address, you click on submit, and then you're going to get access to this Discord channel. We currently got around, I think like 420 already. Let's see, so we have 372 plus 48, so wait, what was that? 372. Yeah, so I think actually 420, right? Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a good number. That's a good number. Anyways, if you get into this, then you're going to find a tab with feedback over here. And also, of course, other channels. And one person, I believe this was Impact Kevin. Yeah, he was asking the question that if I could do like a questionnaire, which I'm probably going to do in the future. I think that was a really good idea. And he was asking a little bit about like if I would include questions with regards to the level of everyone. So I thought that was actually a pretty good idea. And I posted this, and I was actually a little bit surprised because I thought that most people were going to be like number 3 or maybe even 4-ish, because I make quite specific content on YouTube right now. And I thought that most people were actually already a step ahead, if you will, and not so much starting recently. So I actually thought that the number 3 was going to be the most popular option, then probably the number 4, then 2, then 1, then 5. But actually we saw that the second option, so started recently, but I don't know a thing. Well, can't even talk today. It's Sunday, so yeah. I started recently, but I know a thing or two. That was actually the most popular opinion or the most popular option. And that was a little bit surprising to me, to be very honest with you. But it's good to keep that in mind, because that is very important for when I prepare videos, that I choose the right register. I don't use very difficult terms, so I need to keep explaining things well in all my videos. So yeah, that's just a good keep in mind for myself, and might be interesting for you to take a look at. If you haven't filled in these polls, then maybe you can do so I can have a even better understanding of what kind of people are watching my channel. All right, so we have Hans Patat. That's a beautiful name. We've got TNH. What's that? Tnah Cardo. Interesting name. And let's see, we have some more people on here, so that's pretty cool. Let me know how you're doing today on this beautiful Easter weekend, if you had a beautiful Easter brunch or whatever. So we're going to go into, and I'm sorry for blinding you if that's the case. I'm truly, whoa, that's not what I want. Go back. Oh my God, I just messed up my Streamlabs. I think that was it. Okay. I want to do this. Yes. Okay. I hope you can still see the screen. I think you can. Just needed to get my notes so that I can go through this entire thing. Okay, so again, every month I do this portfolio update, and again, sorry for blinding you if this is very white, but my apologies. Every month I go through this portfolio update to see how my portfolio has done in the last month. So this is for the month of March, of course, because March is just passed. And we're going to talk a little bit about like how things are going with regards to my portfolio, with regards to my stocks, what kind of strategy I'm following, what kind of ROI I have so far in this year, of course, year to date. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about my current businesses and also my future plans for, yeah, pretty much the long-term future, or at least like 1 year, maybe 2 to 3 years. So that's going to be interesting. Ate one hamburger. Damn, Jesus, turned water to wine again. What's up, you? How are you doing in Finland? How's the weather over there, by the way? I was wondering. Because like last week it was pretty cool here, pretty nice weather here in the Netherlands. But I always imagine that Finland is like minus 50 degrees Celsius. Eat one hamburger, okay. I had a beautiful poke bowl. That was pretty awesome. Portfolio stings because of SPACs. Yeah, I can imagine the feeling. I'm going to talk a little bit more about SPACs in my portfolio update as well. So let's get through it. First of all, here. This entire portfolio update is as of the 2nd of April. I forgot to do it on the 1st of April, or didn't really have a lot of time on the 1st of April. So I did it on the 2nd of April. And this is my position right now with regards to cash, stocks, and crypto. With regards to cash, the money amount has stayed the same, but the percentage amount has gone lower, mainly because of crypto increasing, of course, in value in the last couple of in the last couple of weeks and months, of course. So the next investment, how are you doing? Back on the grind, very good to see. So yeah, cash position is about 15% of my entire net worth right now. Patat friet. Crypto is a little more than 50%, 52% right now. I think the year started at like 30% more or less on the entire net worth. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see that it's now up to 52%. I did not add anything to my crypto position. This has just gone has gone up quite a bit in value over the last couple of 3 months, of course, which we're going to talk later on about as well. So yeah, that is going to go up and up. And it's also because of the SPAC market and the stock market has gone down. I'm quite heavily invested in high growth and tech and SPACs, and these all have gone down considerably over the last like 6 weeks, more or less. So that's also the reason for which the crypto portion is bigger, because that has held up pretty nicely compared to the stocks, of course. So yeah, I'm not going to do any changes just yet with regards to this whole breakdown. I'm not going to cut down on my crypto just yet, because I kind of feel that there are going to be more catalysts, positive catalysts for the crypto market coming this year. I'm mainly looking forward to the Bitcoin ETF, which is, in my personal opinion, very likely to happen this year. We already see multiple companies filing their applications for a Bitcoin ETF. So I do think that it is very likely to happen somewhere this year, and that, I think, is going to create a nice little boost for Bitcoin and probably the entire crypto market. So maybe if the price of Bitcoin is going to surge to the moon, then I might actually take some profits on Bitcoin and put that into stocks instead. Also, with regards to my taxes, here in the Netherlands, always in like March, April, you have to do your taxes, your annual taxes. And yeah, I just don't know exactly yet how much taxes I need to pay, so that's going to come off the cash position. But I don't think I need to pay a lot of taxes because I didn't have that much of an income last year because I've been working more and more on YouTube, and of course that didn't really provide any income just yet. So it mainly came from the translation business, which I definitely cut down on the amount of hours I was working at that, or in the translation business. So yeah, when I know more about my tax situation, then I'm going to likely have more money available than I thought, and I'll be able to put that money to work in the stock market. Got a very similar portfolio percentage-wise because of the crazy crypto gains, especially Cardano. Yeah, I get that. That's awesome to hear. Congratulations to you. I did not get into Cardano. I held I kept my eye on it. But yeah, this portfolio, it was like 30%, now it's 50%, mainly because, just like you say, the crazy crypto gains. Okay, let's go to the next tab to talk a little bit more about my stock portfolio. So all of this is going to be about my stock portfolio. Currently, 85% is in long-term hold. So these are companies that I usually, not all of them, as we are going to talk about later on, but usually I hold these for like 3 to 5 years, more or less. There are going to be some stocks that I do not hold for 3 to 5 years probably, but we'll talk about that later on. And then I've got about 15% in swing trades. I think there was about 20% last month. I closed a few swing trades also because the market went down, of course, and I bought the dip on the long-term holds. So I added a little bit more to my long-term positions, and I cut down a little bit on my swing trades. So that's pretty good. I currently have, I think, 5 swing trades, and I want to have 3 max. So I'm going to cut down even more. I'm probably going to close one this week, actually. We'll talk about that in a second as well. So let's just talk about my long-term holds. This is my entire portfolio with regards to my long-term holds. And I'm not going to sell anything here, not in this market that has gone down. I haven't sold anything, I believe. I've only been adding to my positions during this dip. So currently this is what my portfolio looks like percentage-wise. And I'm not going to do a full breakdown. As you can see, Ag Eagle UAVS is my largest position right now. You can basically see what I've been investing in a little bit more in the last couple of months. But yeah, I kind of like the setup of my portfolio at this moment. I want to talk a little bit about Xpeng, which is just has the 8% filler position, of course. Xpeng, I added this, I believe, last month. It's likely not going to be a hold for like 3 to 5 years, but maybe like 1 year or something like that, depending on price action. I mainly, what do you call it? I'm getting distracted by the chat. I'm going to go to the chat after this, okay? I'll answer all of your questions. So Xpeng, yeah, I added this last month. And mainly because I think it seemed very undervalued, and I definitely want to write that back up. It's a little bit between a swing trade and a long-term hold, so it's not like a swing trade as in I'm going to buy and sell for like a few weeks or even months, but this could be ending up like 1 year or something like that. So that's why I've put it in my long-term hold portfolio, but you can also definitely make the case that it should be in my swing trade portfolio. So ALPP is also a stock I want to talk about a little bit. This is a drone play, but it's not necessarily a stock I want to hold for 3 to 5 years either. I have been selling a few portions of my ALPP position, and I've been adding that to my TPGY position. So TPGY is going to merge with EVBox, which is a EV charging station company. And with regards to ALPP, we have been waiting for quite a few weeks or even months now to get the uplisting to NASDAQ. This is a stock that's trading OTC, so over the counter. It was going to be put on the, what do you call it? It was going to be put on the NASDAQ, and it was actually going to happen like a month ago, according to the CEO, but that has not happened just yet. So I'm kind of just waiting for the NASDAQ uplisting, and then I'm likely going to sell if we see a nice spike in the price. So yeah, that's probably like between the swing trade portfolio and the long-term portfolio as well, just like Xpang. And the last stock I want to talk about is my DocuSign position. I'm going to likely sell this if this goes back up, mainly because I think that DocuSign right now, I've invested quite a bit, of course, in my crypto portfolio, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes. And DocuSign, of course, has a lot of overlap with the crypto market with smart contracts. So I think that I want to just focus on these smart contracts, the crypto part, and not necessarily on DocuSign. But still, I think DocuSign is a beautiful company. They, if you don't have it, maybe consider looking into that company, because it's definitely an awesome company. But I don't think I need DocuSign in my portfolio, because I think that it's a little bit overkill if you look at the rest of the portfolio. So yeah, I'm probably going to sell that at some point. And I think DocuSign is a little bit redundant in my personal opinion. Let's take a look at the swing trades right now. So these are my current swing trades. And as you might have seen in my last couple of videos about the SPAC market, what I'm doing is I'm moving away from more speculative SPAC plays to the more safer SPAC plays, if you will. So I'm usually holding the SPAC swing trades until the merger happens, unless the price goes up a lot in the meanwhile, and then I take some profits. Right now, I'm actually getting out of NPA, which already is going to close its merger within a few days. I believe they had their merger vote on Thursday or Friday, I'm not entirely sure. But yeah, it's probably going to close on Tuesday, maybe. Then the ticker is going to change. I've already sold half of my swing trade there, and I'm going to sell the rest of it as well to put that actually into GNPK, which is a new swing trade that I just started this week as well. I think that is actually a pretty interesting play. If you haven't looked at that, then maybe check it out. It's a space SPAC, and it already has revenue. I think like $140 million in revenue, and it's actually at a very low enterprise value. I think the enterprise value is like $600 to $700 million. So the price to sales ratio is pretty solid as well. So that's pretty cool. Let's actually go through the questions a little bit to see if there are any questions about the portfolio. We talked about that. MPA, yeah, I just talked about that. When should this soar? No idea. Keep in mind that the merger is going to close, and I made a video about that a few months ago, I believe, that usually when a SPAC merger closes, we see a sell-off afterwards. And the thing is, NPA is a little bit of a more risky SPAC because they don't have any revenue for years, and yeah, it might take a little bit longer to play out. I see your other comments about the it should be a long-term. Yes, if you are a true believer in this company, then I definitely think it should be a long-term play. You should take it into account as a long-term play. But for me, it has been for quite a while, actually, a swing trade. And yeah, I'm now getting out of that swing trade as I originally planned. So that was just my plan behind it. Just with regards to my portfolio, I didn't really mention that, but what I'm looking for in a long-term hold is that the company is usually a leader in a certain niche. I'll explain that with a few examples. Tesla, of course, leader in the EV market. Lemonade, leader in the digital insurance market. ChargePoint, a leader in EV market in the United States, of course. TPGY, EV Box, the leader in EV market in Europe. Then we've got Teladoc, leader in telehealth. Upwork, almost a leader. You can consider it the leader in like the gig economy, freelance economy, but Fiverr is probably the real number one. But still, I think Upwork is a pretty solid number two, or maybe even a shared number one. Companies like CFII, the leader in smart glass, eHang, leader in passenger transportation drones, DocuSign, leader in digital signing of documents, and then of course some holdings like AgEagle, Workhorse, ALPP. These are companies that are looking to get into the drone market, and I don't know really what the leader is in those markets, right? So yeah, in general, I'm looking for the leaders in a certain company or in a certain sector, of course. And with regards to the space space, the world of space. We just don't really know. Well, we kind of know that SpaceX is the leader in that, of course, but apart from SpaceX, it's a little bit difficult to know who the real leader is. Maybe it's Rocket Lab, but maybe it's another company that's going to be built right now, like AST Space Mobile merging with MPA, or maybe another company like Astra or Holicity, I think, or some other company. So yeah, that's a little bit the reasoning behind my portfolio. How much did you make off YouTube? We're going to talk about that in a few minutes. +9 here, so almost like without a shirt. Oh, the degrees. Bear's waking up from hibernation. So it's beautiful outside. That's awesome. Getting into SPACs is going to change, but getting into early to... Yeah, exactly. I definitely agree with that, Yuho. Your portfolio is similar to ARK. Yeah, it definitely is. I have been using ARK as a source of inspiration, if you will. There are definitely many holdings that ARK already has too, like Tesla, of course, DocuSign. Let's see, we've got Teladoc, Upwork? No, not Upwork, right? No, I don't think so. I'm not actually sure. Workhorse, of course, CRISPR Technologies, and I think that's about it. But yeah, apart from that, I just really like high growth stocks and I really focus on that. So I'm definitely a long-term in these companies. Let's see, anything else about my portfolio here? Thoughts on NEO? I'll talk a bit more about those questions later on. Abbott and NTLA, I don't know which one that is actually. Or other plays like CRISPR you might like. Yeah, so shall I talk about that a little bit? Maybe later on. I want to go through this first. MPA target price, can talk about that later on too. TPGY at 16. Are you going to sell to? No, that's actually no. I'm not going to sell TPGY. That is not going to be a swing trade, so I'm not going to be selling. And the only thing I'll be doing there is adding more if it dips down. So I'm not going to be selling that. I'm not sure what my average buy-in is. I don't know, but I have been adding during the dip. I've been selling ALPP and I've been putting that money into TPGY, and I'm not going to sell that after the merger. Maybe I take a little bit of profits if this does go to like $30, $35 more or less. I'll have to look at the charts to confirm that. But if it does go up a lot, if it goes up like 100%, then I might take some profits before the merger. But if it doesn't, if it stays here, then I'm just going to hold it and not sell anything. PaySafe, we'll talk about that later. ARKX later, a good idea for long-term view. Thank you. Hide for Lilium going public. Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, Tom. Welcome, by the way. How are you doing? Okay, so we talked enough about that, I think. Do I have any more notes on this? I don't think so. No, just one more note, and I already talked about this during a, I already talked about this during a video. Then I'm going more into safer SPACs like GIK, like FRX, like GMPK, and like other ones that I mentioned in the video. So yeah, I'm getting out of those more speculative plays and more into the safer plays. Let's actually go to the crypto. This is my crypto breakdown right now. Most of it is, of course, well, not of course, but it is in my case 70% Bitcoin. So most of it is Bitcoin. And this has just been because I've been, basically accumulating Bitcoin when it was around like 8,000-9,000, and I've just been holding and not selling anything. So I'm just going to hold for now, and definitely until we have a Bitcoin ETF, I probably won't be selling anything. So I'm just going to be holding right now, and if it does go to like, I don't know, I don't really have a specific target for taking profits, but I might take a look at the Dutch Plan B to check out his S2F model. Stock to flow ratio model, and use that as my basis for selling a little bit. But for now, I don't really think about selling anything. Apart from that, I have some Ethereum, some Polkadot, some Aave, and some Chainlink. Polkadot, Aave, Ethereum, more or less the same for like percentage. Chainlink a little bit less for now, but yeah, that's basically because of the performance of Chainlink versus the other altcoins. And I'm happy with my portfolio as it stands right now. So I'm not going to be taking profits, or I'm not going to be adding anything to my crypto portfolio. And I currently like my breakdown over here. So that's pretty cool. Do we have any questions about this? Don't think Kathy will continue to this great performance. I just don't get how you can say a fund manager is good based on 2 years performance. Yeah, I get that. But of course, if you check out her performance of last year, and if you compound that over a certain amount of time, then you're probably going to have a higher percentage, a higher compound annual growth rate compared to the other fund managers. I personally, well, as you can see, my portfolio is based on ARK Invest's holdings as well. And I do think that Kathy is going to continue this performance over the next like 5 to 10 years, more or less. Of course, this is a long-term play, right? As you say, you can't really say anything about a performance of about like 2 years' time. So I definitely agree with that. But I do think she is setting up ARK Invest for success. I do think that disruptive innovation is the way to go. And I do think that the companies, most of the companies she is investing in, are going to do very well in the future. So I personally do think that she's going to succeed, but I definitely agree with you that you cannot say that Kathy Wood is a good investor based on a performance of just a few years. So I definitely understand you there. Let's see. I'll first go to Alex Lee. What's up? I'm Korean. I should go to sleep. It's 1 a.m. Thank you for the good video. Hope MPA should go to 50 soon. I really hope that for you too, man. I really do. And yeah, I do for myself as well, of course, but I'm probably going to get out. And yeah, I hope so. I hope so. I can't really say much of anything about that. But yeah, if you're in it for the long term, then just keep that in mind. And then I think that it might actually go your way. So yeah. Good night. I'll leave it at that. Benny Long of STPK. No, I actually don't have a position in STPK. I like the company. I like the stock. That's been a beautiful meme. So I definitely like the stock. I like the company. And I put it in, we can talk about it a little bit later on. I'm struggling with my words today. I'm sorry if I do that, but I'm trying to go a little bit too quick, I believe. I'm going to take a sip of my water and then calm down a little bit. Okay, so STPK. I think it's a beautiful company. I think it's a nice convergence of decentralized energy plus artificial intelligence. And I think that's a good company. And I think it's a good play. I don't have it myself yet. I might pick it up on dips, but right now I don't think it's I don't think it's undervalued. So right now I don't see any need to get into it. But I definitely understand if you are willing to hold this for the long term. 18 May, TPGY will bring out new numbers. That would be nice. I'll sure take a look at that, Jerry. Welcome. Bitcoin usually pull back after halving +1. Yeah, more or less like 18 months or something. Now might be a different situation though. Should be bullish. Yeah, I kind of think that's reasonable to say. I kind of have the same feeling, and I also am looking for a time period of about like half a year to maybe a little bit longer, just like you say. And I also think that we might see the Bitcoin ETF within like half a year. And then we might actually see that we are going to go up a little bit more just because of that. I thought some Palantir will do that later on. Her ETFs are all growth. Yes, ETFs should be diversified. I don't necessarily agree with that. Hers are not. Once all of this crazy growth hype settles, her funds will get destroyed. I understand where you're coming from, but I think it is the way to go. Again, I think disruptive innovation is the way to go if you want to have outsized gains. Because she is not really looking to just beat the S&P 500. I mean, many hedge funds are doing exactly that. Many hedge funds don't really try to get like 20, 30% gain every year. They are just trying to beat the S&P 500 a little bit and then have happy customers, and yeah, that's about it, right? They can rake in the fund costs, and that's about it. But I think what Kathy is doing is she is looking longer term. She's investing in companies that are right now being built that are definitely, or that are not definitely, that might do very well in the next coming like 5 years, more or less, because that's the time frame, like 3 to 5 years, I believe, that ARK Invest is using. Once all of this crazy growth hype settles, her funds will get destroyed. I'm not sure exactly if that's true, because I think that she is also investing a lot in companies that are going to see good deflation, meaning that the costs of production of their companies are going to go down a lot in the next coming years. If you look, for example, at CRISPR Technologies, their services are rather expensive maybe right now, or they have been very, very expensive, but the costs of their tests, their CRISPR tests, are going down significantly, and they're going to have a nice edge in the world, I believe. So I think that the growth will continue to go actually in the next coming years. I think we are on the verge of a lot of growth. The 4 most expensive words in the English language are this time is different. Yeah, I get that. I understand where you're coming from, but yeah, this time is different. I'm not sure if it's going to be different, but we do see that we have good deflation happening. A lot of things are getting very, very cheap right now. We can make cars that are cheaper and cheaper instead of more expensive. And whereas we are seeing cars like EV cars of like 40K right now, that is going to go down over time to like 25K or whatever. So I think that is going to happen in a lot of sectors, not just the EV market, but also in other markets. And I do think that companies will be able to take advantage of that, will be able to benefit from that, and will be able to be very competitive in their niches. So personally, I do think that the growth is going to do well in the next coming 5 to 10 years. That's also, of course, why my portfolio is built around growth. But of course, it could maybe not happen, and yeah, that's fine. For me, it's all about risk reward. I think that the reward is, or the potential reward is justifying the risk that I take. But that's, of course, everyone's strategy is different. So I totally understand it if you have a more diversified portfolio and not fully focused on growth. Beta is larger on growth, but so is gains when they're on. Yeah, that's exactly what I mean, actually. So that's exactly what I mean. Okay, I've been distracted a little bit. So let's actually go to the return on investment tab over here. So right now my stocks are down for the year. This is year to date. So from January until until the 2nd of April when I did this evaluation, if you will. And yeah, stocks are down 4% in my case. Of course, again, I'm heavily into high growth and tech and SPACs, which have taken a massive beating in the last month or last 6 weeks, more or less. Luckily, I do have crypto on the other hand, which has done very well, as Hans Patat, love saying it. But as he already mentioned, that the crypto gains have been quite crazy over the last couple of months. In total, my crypto portfolio has gone up 136.6% year to date. And since the crypto is a large portion of my portfolio, I am up about 51.4% for the year. So that's pretty good, of course. And yeah, let's hope. Well, hope is a bad word, actually, but I don't like saying hope. But let's see if the stock market is going to rebound, if high growth is going to go back in a few months. And if not, no problem. I'll just be waiting patiently for a few years' time. So yeah, this is the ROI so far, and I hope that makes sense. If you have any questions, let me know. This then is the business portion. So usually I don't really disclose the like monetary, what do you call it? I usually don't say how many dollars I have in a certain position, because I don't really think it's relevant. I think it's more relevant for you to see how large of a percentage of my portfolio is in crypto, is in stocks, and how many Bitcoin I have within that crypto portfolio percentage-wise, and not necessarily dollar-wise or euro-wise. So that's why I don't focus on euros or dollars in the portfolio and stocks. But I would like to see, or would like to show you rather, that how much I'm making currently with regards to my translation business. So I'm a freelancer. I have this just company, if you will. I'm just working on my own, so it's just a freelance business that I have, and I do translations. I do translations from English into Dutch, and I mainly focus on medical texts. Also some other texts, of course, but mainly medical translations. And yeah, this is the money that I'm currently bringing in. So in March, it was a pretty solid month. I did a little bit more translation work this month compared to other months, so that resulted in a higher revenue, of course. And with regards to YouTube in total, well, in total in the entire Nesami project, if you will, it was 525 euros in profits, and about 504 of that was of YouTube, actually. And I'm going to pull up, let's see, it should be this one. I'm actually going to pull up a few stats so you can see what that looks like in the background, or like in the, what do you call it? The, I don't know, the background. There's some other word for that, but I don't know that. So this is what it looks like in my YouTube studio, as they call it. As you can see, the views have been declining over the last couple of months, weeks, no, actually weeks rather. This was since the beginning of March. So this is the chart for the last 4 weeks. So we do see a slight decline in views in total, and I've been asking about that, and it looks like most people say that they don't really want to see stock market videos or SPAC videos when the whole market is just downtrending. They're just less focused on the stock market in that case, which I totally understand. So it's probably partially because of that, but it also very well might be that I'm doing something very wrong, and yes, people are just not liking my videos anymore. Could definitely be an option as well. So that's also why I do these polls, to try to understand what the people feel about my whole YouTube channel, about the content that I produce. I am now trying something different where I focus a little bit less on SPACs and go more into the my own holdings, so the holdings that I have with regards to stocks and crypto, of course, and yeah, get a little bit away from SPACs and more into other types of analysis. So I hope that's going to be, I hope people are going to like that, and I hope that's going to lead to a little bit more views over time as well, because of course that would be nice to see continued growth instead of just a decline. But if we scroll out a little bit, if we go to the last 90 days, for example, then yeah, it's a little bit steady over the last 365. We see a nice uptrend, if you will, from here to about like the end of February, and then when the market, the SPAC market and the stock market went down, the views went down too. So let's go back to the last 4 weeks. We can see that the watch time has been decreasing, the amount of subscribers per day has been decreasing as well, and the revenue has been decreasing a little bit as well. Yeah, here we can see the revenue I bring in per day, more or less, so it's around that, like a little bit less than $20, 20 euros per day so far. Let's actually go to the revenue tab so you can see a little bit more. So this is a breakdown of the last 5 months, more or less, when in December I started to bring in some revenue from YouTube. That has been going up over time. So it is actually good to see that in March the amount was bigger than February, even though the views have been declining. So yeah, it does look like it's getting a little bit more sustainable revenue for me. So that's pretty good to see. And of course the goal is to, and let's actually go back to the spreadsheet, the goal is to stop translating at some point and just be able to live from YouTube, from all the other expenses or all the other revenue I'm going to get from like Discord, like Discord premium memberships and courses. I'm going to likely release a course in the next coming weeks, maybe months, about technical analysis. So hopefully that is going to give me enough money to actually be able to quit my translation business. And when I do so, then I'm just going to fully focus on YouTube, on courses, on like trying to provide enough value for everyone out there, because it's definitely a change I want to make in my life. And hopefully that's going to happen maybe somewhere at the end of this year, maybe somewhere at the beginning of next year. But yeah, it just depends on a lot of factors. I can't really put a timestamp on it. But yeah, the overall goal is just to get away from translation and get more into YouTube. So what else did I want to say about this? So yeah, personal expenses, you can see them over here, business expenses. So net, it was a pretty solid month, mainly because I had a solid amount of revenue from a translation business. So that's pretty cool. If you have any questions about this, let me know. I don't mind being fully transparent with regards to these numbers. Let's see, what else? I see no new eVTOLs. Yeah, that's a good one. I'm going to go into the questions later on. I'm just going to talk about one more thing, but let's see if there's more about this. There goes a lot of research into stocks. Definitely. No, it's not. It's now about this time. It's different. Yeah. Don't exactly understand the last sentence, but I do think there is definitely, well, there's of course more to it. They do they do a lot of research, of course. That is definitely true. Times before, and it did change the way nobody imagined Apple where it is now 10 years ago. Yeah, sorry, I'm just choking on my own words here. But yeah, definitely agree with that, and I do agree, of course, with the amount of research that goes into the stocks that ARK invests in. All right, last point I want to make is something I wrote yesterday about. So what I do every week is I write a little like blog, little update about how my business is going and how like my entire YouTube stuff is going and my struggles and my goals, etc. So I do this every week. If you want to check them out, you can go to nesami.com/blog. You can read a little bit more about the behind the scenes, if you will. I'm actually going to zoom in a little bit so you can read with me if you want to. So I was talking a little bit about my long-term goals for about like the next 2 to 3 years. And I've put together a general path for my goals. So what I'm currently doing is I'm building my YouTube channel. I'm just trying to build a subscriber base, and I just try to see what kind of revenue, what kind of value I can provide to people. What I'm going to do this month is release a course on technical analysis, because that is something that I'm doing quite a bit myself, and I hear a lot of people saying like that is something that they would be interested in to learn a little bit more about that. So what I'm going to do is put together a relatively short course of about like 1.5 to 2 hours for complete beginners that is going to bring them, like, it's going to be like a Kickstarter course to just get a lot of solid information within a short amount of time, and that's going to be hopefully very helpful to people. Then what I'm going to do is improve the course based on the feedback that I get, of course. And then I'm going to increase the marketing behind that course, probably to get more revenue with live webinars, some other marketing tools. Then when I earn enough money with YouTube and all the other sources of income, I'm going to stop working as a translator, just like I was telling you about just a few seconds ago. Then what my plan is to get an assistant to do the YouTube editing and to do like recording at future live talks, because what I want to do in the future is doing talks in like high schools, like normal schools, universities, companies, where I want to talk about investing for beginners, because that of course is my longer term focus, not just talking about SPACs and high growth stocks, but I want to approach a way broader base at some point in the future. So yeah, the assistant. So then I'm going to be able to focus a little bit more on providing general content on YouTube, a course for beginners, improve that course based on feedback. And then at the same time, I want to start doing or performing, executing those longer term plans, like those talks about investing for beginners, and again, likely at university, schools, and other companies. If you know Gary Vee, that's exactly what he does in his niche, if you will. He talks a lot about social media, and what he does is he goes to conferences, he goes to people, he does interviews with people, he records all of those, and he puts that into YouTube videos, Instagram posts, Twitter posts, etc. So that's exactly what I want to do. And then with regards to investing for beginners. So that's a little bit my longer term goal actually, but this is a plan for multiple years ahead, at least 2 to 3 years. But yeah, the entire goal is going to be worked out over the next like 10 years probably, if not more. So that's a little bit my longer term goals. Hope that's a little bit clear what I want to achieve. If you have any questions about that, then definitely let me know. If it was too fast, my apologies. But if you have more questions, I'd be happy to talk about that. All right. Wow. Okay. I'm almost out of breath. That was a lot to go through. It's 40 minutes in. Okay. So let's actually go to the questions that have been asked so far. I'm going to go all the way back to the questions that have been asked in the beginning. Don't think I can put them on screen. Can I move them around? No. So the first question I had was, would you hold GIK long-term post-merger? Now, personally, I don't. Because what usually happens after the merger is that we do see a sell-off after the merger happens, mainly because of company or investors taking profits when that's actually possible. And we also see warrants that become exercisable, which increases the amount of shares that are going to be outstanding, which leads to a little bit of share dilution. So usually I do sell after the merger happens. Now, it might be a little bit different in this environment because the SPACs have already sold off a lot, of course. So we might actually not see that much of a sell-off after the merger occurs, and we might see more of a like stable horizontal price action in those stocks that are going to be closing their merger, of course. So GIK is going to close or vote on the merger on the 21st of April, and I'm likely just going to hold until we approach that date. And if we approach that date, I'm likely going to get out of a GIK. But I will say this, that I do think that Lightning Motors is a safer SPAC compared to other ones, and that I can definitely understand people holding this long-term post-merger. It's just not a stock that currently fits in my portfolio. So that is one clarification I want to make. We talked about that. NPA. Do we need to talk about that? What was the question? So let's see. Portfolio similar to ARC. Thoughts on NEO? Let's actually pull up the chart because I haven't looked at that for a while. Of course, longer term, I'm definitely, well, not of course, longer term, I'm definitely bullish on NEO. It's a little bit what I said about XPeng. I do think that we have been seeing a kind of like a massive sell-off, and especially with regards to XPeng, we did see a even more heavy sell-off. I was able to accumulate more or less in this region, I believe, because I did think that we were undervalued at that point, based on not only technical analysis, but also just the valuation. So yeah, I do think that these companies are relatively undervalued. If you purely look at NEO, again, long-term, I do like it. If you just look at the technical analysis part, then I do think that we have seen a nice little bottom over here going on. You could even consider that we have seen some bullish divergence. Let's actually see if that's actually the case. So this had a open of, no, sorry, a close of 35.21. This had an open of 30. Yeah, so this was actually lower. So we had a low over here and a lower low over here. If you purely look at candlestick closures, and if you look at the RSI, we had a low and a higher low, so that is bullish divergence, price action going lower, making lower lows, and a indicator making higher lows, which is bullish divergence, which usually is a good sign. So purely based on the technical analysis, I do think we are going to see more upside in the next coming weeks to months. If yeah, that does look like it. If I would have to put a percentage on it, I would say it's about like 65 to 70% likelihood of more upside in the next coming weeks to months compared to more downside. So I do like what I'm seeing currently at this point. Now, do keep in mind that this level more or less, and let's actually see if that's actually the correct level. I do think so. So I think that this level of $45.50 more or less is going to be a nice point of resistance. So that's not only because of this level, which was created by this high over here and this price action over here, but also by the 55 exponential moving average, which is this white line, which usually holds up price action relatively well as support, but it can also act as a resistance. So I do think that we might see a move back to about like $45, $45.50, and then we might see a short-term pullback. But I do think in the end it will pierce through that level, and we might see a move back to the previous major level of about like $50, $56 more or less. But yeah, that's when I'm talking about like multiple weeks ahead, multiple months ahead, instead of just a few days of price action, of course. But I do like the setup. I do think there's more likelihood of upside than downside. MPA swing, we talked about that. Yeah, NTLA. I actually don't know what NTLA is. Intelia. I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one, but I'll put it in my... I'll make a note on it. NTLA, Intelia. Yeah, I don't know the company. According to TradingView, it has a market cap of 5.4 billion. Just purely with regards to technical analysis, we do see a resistance over here, which actually was touched on last Thursday, I suppose, because on Friday the market was closed. So we do have nice resistance around this level of $85 created by this high over here. And now it looks like on Thursday we got rejected at that level. We likely are going to see maybe a little bit more of a pullback to, well, difficult to say, but I wouldn't mind seeing a pullback to, I suppose, at least 76.50 more or less, or even to this level of 72.50 more or less, because I do think that those are quite important levels for this company. I think this level is even more important than the level I just mentioned before. So I wouldn't mind seeing a pullback all the way to $72.50. I'm not sure if we're going to get there. We might be held up by this support over here, which was created by this high, which is around $76. So we might see a pullback back there. But in general, I do like it. I do like the setup with regards to technical analysis. So that looks pretty good. MPA target price. So I'll give you a few things. First of all, let's pull up the sheet. And by the way, if you want to have access to the sheet that I'm going to show you in a few seconds, then you can join our Discord. It's for free. You can just join it by going to nesami.com/discord. And when you do so, you're going to get access to this Discord. If you then go to SPACs, the channel of SPACs, if you go to the pinned messages, you're going to find, first of all, the YouTube video about the full SPAC guide that I released a few weeks or even months ago. Then the sheet that I use to do the valuations, and then all the valuations that I've done so far, which are all of these. And when I did the video about NPA, I said that the midpoint valuation was about $48 more or less. Which is definitely high compared to where it is right now. But of course, this is based on the investor presentation. It's not based on my own opinion, but it was the reason for me getting into a swing trade, which of course didn't go my way, but I'm completely fine with that. I think the risk-reward ratio was totally fine when I started that swing trade. So yeah, purely with regards to the valuation, according to the investor presentation, my target would be around like $48. And purely based on technical analysis, it's a little bit more difficult to say, because definitely in a market where these SPACs are not so like popular anymore, then it might be a little bit more difficult, or way more difficult, to get to that level of $48 or even like to $44, which was the low price point. So I do think that it's going to cost a lot of like effort to get back to that 40 level. We actually never got to that 40 level, but so far a little bit difficult to say. Long term, it might go to that $48 level, but short term, I don't really think we're going to see a massive pop because of that ticker change that is going to happen in a few days. I kind of think that we are going to range more sideways between this level of about like $11.50 more or less, and potentially this level of about like $16.40. I don't think we're going to go up a lot more than that. And we might actually go even a little bit lower to the previous like. Well, can you say anything useful about that? Actually not. No, I do think actually that this support is pretty important right now. We are trading a little bit below it, so that could be a little bit annoying, to be honest with you. Yeah, I don't really like the charts, the setup of this chart at this very moment. So currently I would be looking towards more horizontal price action. Horizontal meaning just ranging within a range between like, yeah, maybe around like $11 and like maybe even $14.50 more or less. I don't really see a lot of upside in the next coming weeks, months, but I can be completely mistaken, of course. That's my thoughts with regards to NPA. Thoughts on PaySafe. I had a swing trade in PaySafe myself, and I ended that swing trade recently before the ticker symbol changed. Basically the same reasoning as with NPA. I think that often we see a sell-off after the merger occurs, which right now seems to be happening as well. I can't remember when the ticker symbol was actually changed. BFT PaySafe ticker changed. Let's see if that's going to give us a date. I think 5 days ago. Or 6 days ago. Let's see, now operates. I think it was just 5 days ago, I suppose. So if it was 5 days ago, then it was like on Wednesday. It could be the case, could be the case. March. I think it was on Wednesday the 31st, but I could definitely be mistaken. Anyways, what I want to do is, maybe it was on this day. Whoops, that's not what I want. That's what I want. What I usually do is to put a nice vertical line in to see when the ticker changes, and to see if that's going to lead to any changes in price action afterwards. Anyways, what I was talking about is that I had a swing trade that I closed it at around, I think, $16 more or less. And yeah, just to get out of it before the merger was going to happen. But in general, I do like it. I did a video about the top 5 SPACs currently, and PaySafe is one of those, but it is a longer term play in that case. I'm not going to go for this long term because it doesn't really fit my current portfolio strategy, but I do think it's a good play for the long term. ARCX, well, I can't really say anything about that. Yeah, I can't really say about technical analysis wise, can't say anything about ARCX, but yeah, I suppose that many people are a little bit disappointed with the holdings of ARCX because of many companies not being space plays at all. Now, of course, I do know that there are some companies that are related to space, like 3D printing, like drone companies as well. Not just space companies as in going to the moon, like almost literally, but also companies that are going up in the air, like drones and eVTOLs, of course. So they are focusing not just on space, but also on those things. And I think many people were actually thinking that it was going to be a pure space ETF, purely with companies that made rockets and stuff like that. So yeah, that's it's interesting to see, and I'm looking forward to seeing if they are going to change or make any changes to the holdings that they are having right now. We talked about that. Palantir. I actually had that in my list of swing trades because I was looking at Palantir as a swing trade. And that's mostly because of technical analysis. Now, with regards to valuation, I don't really know how highly Palantir should be. Currently, it's trading at about $42 billion in market cap, according to TradingView. But it was mainly because of technical analysis, because I do think that this level of about $22.50 is going to be a major level because of this low over here, this low over here, this low over here, and now this low over here. So I do think that this is going to be a nice little support level. I do think it's going to be quite important for now. So that looks pretty solid. If you look at the indicators, the RSI has already come down quite a bit. It's seemingly like stabilizing a little bit, and I could definitely see some more upside in the next coming weeks to a few months. And that's also the reason why I was looking at this for a swing trade. I kind of like this signature of the Crowns Trading Stochastics, and the MACD seems to be pretty okayish as well. It seems to be crossing back to the upside, getting back in the green. So that's usually a good sign too. So yeah, in general, I do kind of like it. I like what I'm seeing here, and we also see some bullish divergence on this chart. Here we have a low, here we have a lower low, and if we go to the MACD, here we have a low, here we have a way higher low. So that's actually pretty good to see. So purely with regards to technical analysis, I would say that the chances of upside is more likely, like I would also say about like 70% more likelihood of upside, maybe even 75% of upside compared to downside in the next coming weeks to months. Okay, let's see. I see no new eVTOLs. Yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. So I don't have any of the eVTOLs because I do think those are a little bit more risky, if you will. It's definitely an interesting sector, but for now I just don't really know a lot of I don't really know who the leader is going to be in that sector. So I'm kind of waiting to see who is going to be like the number one in that sector. Of course, EHang is a little bit like an eVTOL. It's a flying drone. It's not entirely an eVTOL, but yeah, it's a little bit the same technology, if you will. And yeah, that is a little bit of my eVTOL play for now. But if there's going to be a company that is going to be the major leader in the eVTOL space, then I definitely am going to consider investing in that company. In 30 years, most cars on the road will be electric. Yes, I think so too. Stock market open close videos like Meet Kevin or something like that. Guess he gets a lot of watches on them. Yeah, definitely. That's a good point. I'll tell you why I don't do that. It's mainly because I am relatively small on YouTube right now. The strength, or let's actually go to my video, shall we, to try and hopefully explain that a little bit more to you. Let's actually go to all the way to the first videos that I made. While I'm scrolling, am I going to scroll through? My internet is, of course, a little bit, what do you call it? A little bit slower when I am live streaming. So what I'm going to show you is the power of a large channel and a small channel. And the thing is, if you have a large channel, you can basically make content about whatever you want because you're going to get views anyways. But if you are a smaller channel like I am, then you have to make way more specific content that is going to let you rank high in the search results in YouTube to get views at all. So it actually doesn't seem to load right now, so I'll just go to oldest instead. So in the beginning of my career 6 months ago, I made some more like general videos, if you will. Like I was already working on my long-term goal of trying to educate people on how to invest for beginners. I did a series about investing for beginners that only got like 100 views, you know, and I quickly noticed that I can't get any views on these videos because I just have a relatively small channel, and these videos were never going to be able to rank high in the search results. If you're going to go on YouTube and you search for investing for beginners, you're never going to go find my videos, but you might find Meet Kevin's videos. So that's a little bit the issue I have as a small starting YouTube channel. So if I sort this again by newest, then you're going to see that I make content about like specific SPACs that not a lot of people are making content for. Let's do an example, right? I make a lot of content about Ag Eagle, for example. So if people are going to go to UAVS stock, which is a search term that a lot of people do, then I actually am able to rank high in the search results. Now, I'm not sure if this is going to be the way that it's going to show up for everyone, but you can see that if you go to Ag Eagle or UAVS stock, then my channel is going to be one of the top channels for that search term. So people are going to be able to find me that way. But if you do like investing for beginners, then there's no way that I'm going to rank high in these search results. Because as you can see, these are all channels with like 1.1 million, 340,000 subscribers, 580,000 subscribers, 1 million subscribers, 340,000, 380, 540. So it's going to be almost impossible for me to rank high in these search results. And to come back to your question or to your suggestion, which I definitely find a good one, the thing is, if you have multiple channels like Meet Kevin doing like live videos when the stock market opens, when it closes, it's when you have multiple channels doing that, the majority of the people are going to go to the channels that have the highest amount of views, that have the highest amount of subscribers, and that for me is going to be very unlikely to achieve. I don't think that I'm going to be able to create or get a lot of views on those videos rather. And that's my reason for not really focusing on that right now, but I might definitely do that in the future when I do have some more subscribers. So I think right now my time is better spent preparing videos that are going to do well in the search results instead of videos that are not going to do well and only create like 100 or 200 views more or less. So I hope that makes sense. I hope that explains a little bit my YouTube strategy right now. What do you think of STPK? So I like it, and actually let's go back to my channel. I had this video of top 5 SPACs, and if you go to the list of topics, then you can see that both of these companies, STPK and TPGY, are in my top 5 SPACs at the moment. I only have TPGY right now. I love TPGY, and if you are searching for TPGY stock, it's possible that you are going to find my videos on the top, because I made a few videos about that company, about that SPAC right now. So yeah, also here I am one of the top channels. Yeah, I am actually the top channel according to this tool that I use. So what did I want to say? Yeah, so I really like TPGY. I really like EVBox. It's a EV charging SPAC. And I like it because I don't want to look at my face, by the way. So let's go here, by the way. Let's see. Yeah. So I really like it because it is, in my opinion, the leader in EV charging stations in Europe. And I like leaders in certain niches. I also like how they are setting themselves up for success in the United States. So I like the expansion over there. It is a partially a Dutch company, or it is a Dutch company owned by a French company. So it's good to see that, we have some Dutch influence here as well. And I'm, of course, Dutch. I'm from the Netherlands myself. So that's pretty cool. When I go outside, I see a lot of EV box charging stations. There are, I think, like 75,000 EV charging stations in the Netherlands of EV box. And in total, they have about 200,000. So like more than 1/3 of the EV charging stations are in the Netherlands. and I'm definitely bullish on the stock. My valuation for TPGY was, let's actually go here. So for the midpoint valuation, I had a valuation of $38 more or less. And if we go to the chart, we can see that's currently trading around $20. So I definitely do think we have some more upside to go. And I do still think that it is currently undervalued, especially if you compare it to ChargePoint, for example. So I like it. I've been accumulating within this region, within this dip. I've been selling my ALPP stock and I've been getting more into TPGY. And with regards to STPK, I have not got a position myself, but I do actually have put it in my to be added stock. I might add it, I might not add it, I'm not sure yet. But I think that the current valuation of STPK is already quite fairly valued. If you look at the valuation that I did for that company, then you're going to see that the midpoint valuation is $28.70, and right now it's slightly below that at $27 instead. So I'm not sure if there's a lot of upside to go here, and currently I would be more bullish, or well, I'd say that TPGY is more undervalued compared to STPK, but I do like the idea behind a stem of decentralizing energy, using artificial intelligence to improve their systems. So I definitely am bullish on STPK in the long term. And I think that this is actually a major support level created by this top, this low, this low, this low. So I do think that the 2450 level is going to be a massive low or a massive support level. So I do like that. CLSK, that's Clean Spark, right? The semi-Bitcoin play, I think. Breakout until the end of year to new highs, I believe, going to be profitable this year too. Let's see. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what I think about this. Because in general, I don't really like a chart that looks like this. We just had a massive pump and then we are downtrending, downtrending, downtrending. So I don't really like that all too much. Let's actually try to draw some things in this. We might see something going on like this, like a falling wedge. So we could definitely see a breakout as you suggested. I do think if we see a breakout above this white line, which is the 55 exponential moving average, which is currently sitting at about $24, well, about like $25 actually. If we see a candlestick closing above like $25, 25.50 cents more or less, then I do think you are going to be right, and we might see a breakout to yeah, maybe even new all-time highs. Could definitely be the case, but so far it is downtrending in the short term. It could definitely still continue to downtrend. It could use this 55 EMA as resistance. It could use this trend line as resistance too, and then that could mean that we are going to go down to potentially even this level of about like $16 more or less, or I think that's it. Yeah, I think like around $16 could be a potential target if we do continue to downtrend. So far, I don't love this chart, but if we do see a breakout above that level of $25 more or less, then I do think you're going to be right and we are going to see a breakout. If I just look at the indicators, by the way, RSI is still downtrending a little bit. We do have some bullish divergence here, but it is very slight. So I don't really give a lot of importance to it, but it is definitely a factor to consider. But we could definitely see one more push to the downside, in my opinion. On the other hand, yeah, I do think this is not really set up for a push to the upside either. This is okayish. This is a little bit more on the positive side. We do see a cross here on the MACD. We do have a nice green signal over here. So that is a good sign. But in general, I wouldn't mind seeing one more push to the downside, then break out of this descending triangle, and then break out and then go back to the upside. Hope that makes sense. Have you looked into VMC at all? VMC. I have not, as you can hear. And I honestly don't know which one I should look at. So probably this one on the New York Stock Exchange. Let's see. VMC, formerly BUS. That's probably not it, like stock. Canadian, so it is actually Canadian. VMC. So it might be this one then. It might be this one, but I'm not sure. So let me know which one you mean. If it's this one, the Canadian VMC, or like Vicinity Motor Corp, or if it's a different one. Many YouTubers put words like penny stocks and thousands of others on their description so people would find them. You have solid content and not pushing style. Keep it up. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. Was that a suggestion, by the way, Yuho, or what do you mean exactly? Many people put words like penny stock and thousands of others on their description. So, like in the tags, you mean? I do that too. I add tags to my stuff as well. Let's see. So I add tags as well, which are relatively specific tags. Penny stock is a very broad term, so I think that my channel is too small to be able to rank high in the search results for the word penny stock. But I do try to rank for tags like best specs to buy, best specs 2021, STPK stock, energy storage stocks, etc. So those are the types of terms that I put in my description, and also like hashtags. So it is actually Vicinity Motor Corp. Okay, so it actually looks very similar to the CLSK chart, which I have just been analyzing. According to TradingView, we just had earnings. So maybe you should check that out if you haven't just yet. It could be an important sign for sure. And let's see. What else did I want to say about that? Yeah, check out the earnings call. Let's see if they have any solid revenue and stuff like that. Let's see, what can we make of this chart? We can make something like this. Something like this. At another level, yeah, a little bit. Not super strong though. To the downside, I would say this level, more or less. Here. Trying to figure out which are the most important levels for this chart, and meanwhile I'm going to take a sip of my water. So I think these are the most important levels. We have a level at $6.50. We have a level at $9. We have a level at $12 more or less, and one at $13. And to the downside at $4.25 more or less. I think as long as we stay above this level of 650, then we are good. We are using the 55 EMA, so this white line right now, as resistance probably. So I wouldn't mind seeing a rejection in the short term in the next coming days or weeks. We could definitely see a rejection here coming in at $8.20. I would not mind seeing a move back to the level of more or less like $7.50. I would not be opposed to a move like that. But I do think that we might set up ourselves for a nice move back to the upside, mainly because we have bullish divergence going on, meaning that we are making a low over here, lower low over here. Whereas on the RSI, we're making a low over here and a higher low over here, which is bullish divergence, and that's pretty solid. We also see that the RSI is back above that EMA on the RSI. So the blue line is going to go back above that EMA. This white line over here, that's usually a good sign as well. And the white line, the EMA on the RSI, is crossing back to the upside, which generally is a good sign as well, just like we saw over here, which probably was a good time. Yeah, definitely. It was the move right before this move to the upside. So that can definitely give you a good indication that good things are about to happen. So if this curls back to the upside, then I do think we might have a nice low forming over here. Don't really have any information here. And I do like this read too on the MACD. We first had this blue line going below the signal line, the orange line. And now we have seen a cross back to the upside, which usually is a good sign. Last time that happened was all the way back here, and that was probably right before the move back to the upside, which definitely was the case. So it actually looks like a pretty solid moment to buy, and that of course is not financial advice, but according to technical analysis, I do think that in the next coming weeks, the chance of upside is higher than the chance of downside. the percentage I'd put to that is also like 65%, 70% more or less, or even a little bit more. But yeah, so far I like it. Maybe we see a short-term pullback because of that resistance at $8.20. But in general, I think in the next coming weeks, I can imagine we are going to break above that, and I would not mind seeing a move back to even maybe the $12 level. So that is my technical analysis with regards to that. And yeah, with regards to like the fundamentals of this company, I don't know anything about the company, so I can't really talk about that. Keep up the good content. Thank you, Eric. Any thoughts on Adyen, I suppose? Do you mind if I pull up the Dutch? I suppose the Dutch stock is just the same, well, almost the same, like with regards to the trend. Yeah, it's very similar, so I'll just stick to this one. I definitely like this one. I've been looking at Adyen for a while, and I thought about getting into this company actually myself. I know that ARK Invest is investing in this one. It might actually be their only a Dutch stock that they own, so that's pretty cool. And yeah, what do I think it's a beautiful company to have. I like their style as well. They are a little bit like Lemonade. If you know, their style is really like a solid, almost like a millennial vibe. I liked, for example, how they do their investor presentations or their earnings calls. I think like Adyen IR. Let's see. They usually have this like funny videos. Yeah, this one, like this stuff. It's pretty funny to see. And I don't think there's any volume right now, but that's no problem. So usually they have these earnings calls in a video format, and that's pretty funny actually. I kind of like it. So that's not the best reason to get into a company, of course, but they have solid revenue. They are increasing. Their revenue, I believe, quite fast. And I believe they have a pretty solid numbers. I'm not going to go through the entire annual report, of course, but can we find any important information? So here you can see that the processed volume and the net revenue have gone up considerably. Wow, that's a difficult one to say. As you can see, in 2 years' time, they basically doubled their revenue, which is, of course, a pretty freaking solid to see. Almost doubled their revenue, so that's pretty good. And they have just a beautiful positive EBITDA of 400 million compared to the revenue of 680 million. So I really like the financials behind this company. I really like the long-term chart of this company. As you see, it's just a beautiful line to the upside. Right now it is curving a little bit more like horizontally, if you will. The massive growth has gone out of that stock a little bit because, yeah, in the last year, it has gone up 155%, which of course is quite insane. You can't see it, but I think now you can. So it has gone up 155% in 1 year. If you actually go from the low to the current level, it's 191%. So beautiful chart, definitely a beautiful chart. With regards to technical analysis, I do think that we do have a little bit of resistance right here where we are right now, actually. Mainly because of this top that was put in place back in December 2020, and this top put in place in the middle of March of this year, of course. So we might have a short pullback, but actually, to be honest with you, we might just pierce right through it, go back to the previous all-time high of 2200 more or less. Because I do like the setup. This is a very strong move back to the upside. A very bullish candlestick over here of 4% last Friday. Was it open? No, I don't think it was open. I think it was on a Thursday, like the 1st of April. Yeah, on Thursday. So beautiful candlestick on Thursday. I like the setup. I like the RSI going back up to the upside. I like the MACD going back up to the upside. So I'd be bullish on this for the next coming weeks, personally. I would be leaning towards more upside than downside. Any views on Fisker? So not really with regards to the company itself. Not really. I know that a lot of people are bullish about Fisker, and some people even say that this might be the competitor of Tesla at some point. I'm not sure about that. I haven't really seen a lot from Fisker myself, so I can't really say anything about the fundamentals of this company. So I'll just talk a little bit about the technical analysis part. And I'm going to see if I'm going to be able to put in some levels. This is a major level. Then it's getting a little bit more difficult. I do think that's a major level. That's a major level. What else is a major level? Yeah, difficult. So yeah, with regards to technical analysis, I would not mind seeing a move back to the level of like $14.80 more or less. But if it goes back down there, I would see it as an opportunity, very likely, because I do think that the support is very massive. It has gone sideways for a long period of time, actually, from the 10th. Oh, my lamp just goes out. Okay, there we go. From the 10th of December until all the way to like the 10th of February, basically 2 months, it has been going entirely sideways. I do think that created a beautiful base. So if it does go back to that level, I do think that is an opportunity. Of course, that's not financial advice, but I would see it as an opportunity myself. With regards to the indicators, I definitely could see some more downside happening. I would not mind having the indicators going down a little bit more. I'm not sure if we've seen the bottom already. We are seeing a curvature back to the upside a little bit, but so far I do think there is more pressure to the downside than to the upside. So I definitely wouldn't mind seeing a move back to $14.60 more or less. I'd be leaning towards more downside, like 60% more likelihood to downside, 40% likelihood of upside more or less. Thanks are on my fintech shortlist. Good. Yeah, I definitely like Agin. I definitely like the company. I like the stock. QAL, which is going to merge with Lilium. I keep forgetting the name. Lilium, right? Yeah, Lilium. Actually, I want to go to their website because I haven't really checked out their website. Pretty cool. Maybe I want to check out their investor presentation. If it's in here. Company overview, fact sheets, maybe. Let's open that. No, that's not what I want. I want the investor presentation. There you go. Okay, so what am I going to look for? I'm going to look for their revenue plans. I'm going to look for their current valuation. Because so far I suppose it's just an idea and not so much a product they already have, of course, just like many eVTOL companies, which is totally fine. Do they already have this factory, or is that just an image? Applications. Interesting technology. The business model. Let's bring it. B2C and B2B. Okay. One jet can generate 15K per day. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Where's this? Florida. Oh, okay, cool. Germany. I would like that. I wouldn't mind being able to go from Dusseldorf to like Munich. I personally live in the Netherlands, in the middle of the Netherlands, right here. Financial overview, finally. Yeah, okay, so this is a little bit what I was looking for. Basically, they are going to start to produce in 2024, more or less. They're going to have some revenue. They expect to have $200 million in revenue in 2024. And they expect to ramp that up very quickly to 1.3 billion in 2025, 3.3 billion in 2026, to 5.9 billion in 2027. So this is a story you need to believe. And if you're investing in this company, it's very likely that it's kind of going to have to be a play where you have to believe in the long-term opportunity of this company. because of course you're not going to see any revenue for the next 3 years or even 4 years. And that is definitely a long time to wait. Personally, I'm not getting into these companies myself because I don't want to wait so long anymore. I, of course, did do that with MPA, but yeah, that was back when the SPAC market was a little bit more healthy than it is right now. So right now, I would not have started a swing trade in MPA either, and I probably wouldn't have started a swing trade in QALL either. But if you like the long-term opportunity of this company, let's see what the valuation is. They have, okay, that's what I want. This is what I want. So the pro forma enterprise value is 2.4 billion. Let's keep that in mind, 2.4 billion. Let's look at this. Yeah, so basically what they are saying is that if they look at 2026, the year 2026, which is the year where they expect to have $3.3 billion in revenue, and of course, as I say in almost all my SPAC valuation videos, expect is a very big word. And I don't mean that lightly, because it's very easy to put this on paper and say, yeah, we're going to get $3.3 billion in revenue. It is a story you need to believe. Again, I was also having a swing trade in Romeo, and they said that this year they were expecting to have $140 million in revenue in the investor presentation. They took that down from 140 to 18 to $40 million. So a massive decrease, of course. And that could happen with a company like this too. So keep that in mind. If you believe in the story, then sure. If you believe in the story, then this is what's happening. In 2026, they are going to have $3.3 billion in revenue. Then they would be trading at a current EV to revenue multiple of 0.7x. Because the current enterprise value is 2.4 billion, revenue 3.3 billion, so the EV to sales ratio is 0.7x. If you look at the other companies, at their EV to sales ratios, you see that Joby is trading at 2.3x, Archer trading at 1.2x. So the average between this is like 1.7x. So then you can say, 1.75x I believe, then you can say, okay, based on 1.75x, if that's the average valuation of these two, Lilium could have a 50% increase from 0.7x to 1.75x, which is, I believe, an exact 150% increase. So purely based on that, you could make the case that it is worth about like $25 more or less per share if you compare it to these companies. Okay. Hope that makes sense with regards to valuation. With regards to the technical analysis, can't really say anything useful about this. I can only say that it is very close to that $10 level, and that before the merger, you have, of course, a bottom of $10 per share, or not entirely a bottom, but you can choose to redeem your shares for $10 per share if you would like to do so. And that is going to act as a bottom for this stock. So $10 is probably going to be a major low for this company until the merger actually happens. Because when the merger has completed, then the bottom is going to go away and it could go even lower. I am investing in one company, View, which is for a long-term play. I'm going to hold this for multiple years probably. And this company has gone below that level of $10 per share. So it's currently trading at around $8 per share. So that is definitely something that can happen. So again, if you want to invest in this company, I think it's a very long-term play. And you almost need to be willing to hold this for like 5 years, because that's when they actually start to bring in some revenue, right? So I hope that makes sense. MTBC Technicals. I don't know the company, so I'll start off with that. I don't know it. I can't say anything about that, so yeah, I'll just hop into the technical analysis. I do think we have a major level here. I do think the same level is present over here. Here. And I would say probably here. Maybe to the downside, any levels? Yeah, not so much. Maybe here. It's not really strong. I'll leave it at this. So I do think that it is that we could be close to a potential opportunity, and this could already be an opportunity. If you take a look at these two levels, I think that these two levels at $7.70 and $8.20 are quite important. The $7.70 comes from this top over here, this top over here, and this low over here. And we kind of tested it on this low over here too. So we could definitely see a move a little bit lower to that same level of about $7.70. I would not be surprised if that happens, but I might see that as an opportunity. Currently, we have gone sideways for a few months, of course. Since June 2020, we have been going sideways, so that's not the most bullish setup. But yeah, I do think that if we continue to go sideways, and we are using this level as a major low, then I would see that as an opportunity, and we could go back to that those previous two levels of like $11.50 and $12.75. I also think that this level is relatively important at $8.20 because it captured this low, this low, this low, this low, this low, this low, and now this low. So those two levels are definitely big levels of support, of horizontal support. And yeah, I do think that is going to be important and is going to hold up price action relatively well, in my personal opinion. If you look at to the upside, let's zoom in a little bit. The 55 EMA is going to be acting as resistance, in my opinion. It already acted as beautiful resistance over here in the move of the 15th of March, more or less. 15th, 16th of March. It acted as like perfect resistance. So then it traded back down to that support level. And now it kind of looks like it wants to go back to the upside. I kind of think that if we close a candlestick above, I would say almost this 8 daily exponential moving average, then I wouldn't mind seeing a move back to the upside. Kind of what happened here as well. We saw a move back above this yellow line, which is the 8 daily exponential moving average. And then we saw a continued move back to the upside until we reached resistance. So I can imagine the same thing is going to happen in the next coming days or weeks. That if we close above that 8 daily exponential moving average, that yellow line, that we could see a move back to the 55 EMA, which is going to be around like $9.30 more or less. Longer term, though, in the next coming weeks, maybe even months, I could imagine that it is going to go a little bit higher. Even if we look at the RSI, for example, it's already relatively low, but I definitely can't see it going a little bit lower for sure. MACD, kind of like the same thing. We don't have a bullish cross to the upside yet, so I do think we could see a little bit more of a lower price action going on in the next coming days. But again, I do think that it could be an opportunity. If you believe in this company long term, then I do think it might be an opportunity right now, and definitely if it goes back to that level of $7.70. Hope that makes sense. We haven't seen any eVTOL companies ticker change, so don't know what to expect. Yeah, exactly. It's a very unknown niche, if you will. It's very difficult to know what is going to happen with that sector, because like I kind of think that the entire eVTOL sector is going to move together a little bit. And I wouldn't be surprised if the charts right now are already going together. So let's actually go to Cal. And let's add a ticker symbol. So RTP, which is Joey, and also ACIC, which is Archer. Let's get rid of this. So as we can see, the entire eVTOL market is trading relatively together. These three charts, so the candlestick chart being Cal, which is going to merge with Lilium. The orange chart is RTP, which is going to merge with Joby. ACIC merging with with Archer. So we do see that they topped out more or less at the same level, and they came down more or less together, and now they're going a little bit horizontal together. So yeah, I do think that the entire eVTOL sector is going to move together. If one goes to the upside, the rest is probably going back to the upside too. Let's get back to EMAs. Very well. Skills. Huh. Take a sip of my water before I talk about this. So I honestly don't know enough about this company to say anything about the valuation of this company. It's trading at $7.5 billion in market cap, more or less. And I'm going to find some horizontal lines to play with. Maybe a little bit here. Maybe a little bit there. Maybe to the downside too. Yeah. Yeah. I think these are my horizontals if I would have to plot them in. I think that we do have some support going on right now at $17.80 more or less because of this low and this low. It's not very strong, in my opinion. It's not very strong. I would not be surprised if we see a continued move to the downside to the level of about like $14.50 more or less because of this top, and this top. So that is definitely, if it goes back to that level of $14.50, I would see that as an opportunity. With regards to the indicators, I can see some more downside happening. Right now, we don't see that move back to the upside just yet. It is downtrending for now on the RSI. Stochastics, same thing. MACD, same thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did see a little bit more of a move back to the downside. We are still below this 8 daily exponential moving average, this yellow line over here. So that is holding down price action too. On the other hand, again, this is some support at $17.80 from the base over here, So it could turn into a solid support. We could see a little bit of a horizontal price action at some point break above this 8 daily exponential moving average and then go back to the upside. And then I would target a move back to like $24.40 more or less. For now, I'm a little bit more poised to the downside. I think that downside is a little bit more likely, but very slightly more likely. I would say around like 55 to 60% more likelihood of downside and 45 to 40% likelihood of upside. But if we do see a closure of a candlestick be above that 8 daily exponential moving average, I would target a move back to the upside to, again, above, around this resistance level at $24.30. Hope that makes sense. Okay, let's go. We've already talked quite a bit. That's pretty good. So let's see. I think we're going to actually wrap this up. I've answered hopefully all the questions, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I am going to wrap this up right now. It's already a little bit late too, and I still need to do a few things for my Discord Premium membership. Again, if you want to join our Discord group, you can just go to nesami.com/discord to join it for free. But there is also a Discord Premium membership. I'll quickly show you this one. If you go to nesami.com/member, you can actually become a member of our Premium membership. There you're going to get access to all of my research and all of my additional videos that I make about technical analysis, some other videos too. And I also have some buy and sell alerts. So when I buy a stock or a crypto, or when I sell a stock or a crypto, then I definitely let you know too. So if you want to join it, you can join it for free for 1 month to just get a free trial. If you don't like it, then you can just leave again, of course. But if you do like it, you can hopefully stay around. So that is definitely something to look at. Okay, I think with that being said, I don't really have anything to add. So I would just like to thank you a lot for your time, for being here, for sharing your time with me, for asking me questions, for giving me feedback, for giving me suggestions. So I definitely appreciate you doing that and appreciate you just being here and sharing your time with me. So again, have a beautiful night wherever you are, or have a beautiful day wherever you are. Hope to see you in the next one next week. Bye-bye.